Hey guys, it's Evil Mr. Alex here, and today we're gonna be looking at some speculation I've prepared based on the models and some of the statistics on the AT weapons provided on the forums. So, let's look at the first couple weapons we have here. We have the M9A1 Bazooka. It has velocity of 80 meters per second. That's pretty much the same as the current bazooka in the game. It weighs 7.5 kilograms, which is slightly more. And it fires a 60 millimeter M6A3 high explosive anti-tank rocket, I believe, which is the one you see in the picture of the model here up above. Second gun we have here is the ampulomet. I think that's how you say it. Velocity of 50 meters per second, which actually isn't a whole lot. Weighs 26 kilograms. I believe that's the weight of the weapon, including the base and the projectile. The developers have another picture that says it weighs about 10 kilograms, but that's without the base. This weapon fires a 125 millimeter incendiary projectile made of spherical glass. Man, that's kind of crazy. Let's go look at my speculation for these weapons. I think for the ampulomet, it might be like a 6-weight weapon with just one pouch. Maybe it just might be 6 with no pouches. Like, I really don't know for this weapon. It's kind of weird. But we know for sure that it probably will have poor range, but it should have like a heavy impact, heavy damage. I believe it pens about like 80 to 90 millimeters, which is actually pretty good. And it also has a kind of a strange sight, I guess for a little bit longer ranges. It's got like this weird stick-looking thing. It's kind of interesting at the same time, but I don't know about it. For the second gun, the M9A1, it's possible you may be able to purchase this on a paratrooper, which would be kind of interesting to see a bazooka on a paratrooper, and kind of gives that faction a slight edge in that area, having a airborne bazooka, while the other factions would just still be using AT grenades and such. Pen's about 101, maybe more pen, which is decent enough if you want to, punch a hole in a tiger. At least from the side, you shouldn't have any problem bouncing. Whereas, like, the standard bazooka you already have in the game, for the Americans, it seems to bounce off sometimes on the sides of tigers. It has an interesting target picture sight, which is kind of cool, and I believe it will weigh the same, of course. Going on to the next couple weapons here, we got the German anti-tank rifle, PZB-39, with a velocity of well over 1,000 meters per second. That's really crazy. 1,200 meters per second. 11 kilogram weight. That's probably the same amount as a PTRD, I believe. I mean, they're fairly similar guns. Fires a 7.92 anti-tank round, so yeah, it's practically a PTRD. But the next weapon, which is an interesting find, the GRB grenade launcher. Now, I couldn't find anything about the velocity on this gun, but I just kind of guessed. So I just say like 85 to 100 meters per second. Like if anybody could find an actual historical number, that would be actually pretty great. Weighs 10.4 kilograms. Compared to the developer's stat, they say it actually weighs more than the PZB, but I don't know if that's actually including the weight of the projectile, which is a high explosive anti-tank grenade. My speculation on these guns: the anti-tank rifle will have great velocity, as we know. It'll weigh as much as a PTRD, I believe, because there's no sense in it weighing less and having a slight edge. Pen's about 25 to 30 millimeters of pen, which is to be expected. It's not going to be penetrating like crazy amounts of armor. Going on to the grenade launcher speculation, it has an interesting sight, which is kind of cool. If you ever watched the Forgotten Weapons video, it has shot arc, just like a bazooka. It has a AoE, which may be kind of cool. Like if you have a dual purpose type weapon, it can kill tanks, or you could use it at long range to splash infantry. I think this thing might weigh the same amount as maybe the ampulomet, but really I'm just guessing. Maybe it'll weigh 7 with max ammo, which would be, what, like 7 grenades maybe? It can penetrate about 60 to 150 millimeters of pen. There are 2 different types of grenades, I believe, that were used on this weapon, so this is just also sort of a guess. It'll have a longish reload. You're loading a grenade, and you're also loading a blank bullet, just to give it, like, that push. And it'll have short range as the last thing here. Like, really, it's a grenade launcher. You're not going to be shooting as far as a Panzerschreck. So it'll be interesting to see this weapon in action. I don't think it'll do a whole lot of damage to tanks, but it'll definitely be enough to crit the hell out of them. So going on to some extra speculation here, I noticed in these pictures that, at least for the German weapons, they have their bipods set up. So I'm just wondering if we are actually seeing some sort of bipod system progression. Maybe we're getting closer to actually having bipods usable on our guns, but who knows? It's just speculation. So this is the picture that I pulled from the forums. We have what looks like 3 tiers of weapons for each faction. Looks like Germany gets, you know, AT rifle, grenade launcher, and then you'll have your Panzerschreck in the end. The Americans, interestingly, they have a bazooka in the first tier and the second tier, and then the third time they have a recoilless rifle. And more interestingly for the Soviets, they have an anti-tank rifle, and then they have this ampulomet, which is kind of like a bazooka. And then you have the PTRS, which is another AT rifle. That's kind of interesting. But the main part of my speculation here is that maybe the Panzerschreck will be taken off other factions, just like the American M1 bazooka. So they'll be just faction specific. So maybe when they get closer to releasing these things, maybe you want to actually purchase the Panzerschreck on your American and Soviet characters, because it does seem to be a really decent weapon. 160 millimeters of penetration, opposed to the standard bazooka with only 76. So yeah, might want to keep your eye out for that. That is pretty much all for this short little speculation video. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe we need more AT weapons to fight the big nasty tanks that are out there just pooping on infantry, having their way. So give the video a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you on the next one.